there, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've ever been turned into a doll, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I'm always carrying some wood.
Ugh. I'm Nico,
no.
and I'm very, very glad that rats can't just, jump 6 feet in the air.
I'm Dan, and I can't take a rose off of a tree. I have to get clippers for that.
And we're here today to review Pacify. So, this was created by developer Sean Hitchcock, and we're just going to get right into the game scenario, if you will. So in this, you and your teammates, because this is cooperative, take on the role of investigators from Paranormal Activity Helpers, Inc. And as of right now, time of recording, there are 4 missions that the player can take on where they must exorcise, like The Exorcist, not like put them on a treadmill, or defeat some paranormal entity. Mission 1 has you taking on a supernatural young girl who murdered her foster parents, and, well, you've got to get rid of her possessed dolls. Nico, let's go with Mission 2.
I don't know, man, but just suddenly having a bunch of personal trainers show up and just start taking shit out of my house sounds pretty terrifying to me. So, I don't know about you, man, but anyway, Mission 2 takes a turn to a more rural landscape where you face off against the evil Karen. Yes, she's called Karen, I'm not kidding. You see, Karen and her husband Joe inherited a nice big farm. But little did they know there was a catch, and there always is. Be careful out there. You see, there was a box that trapped evil on the farm, and Karen opened it. She then became possessed herself and proceeded to eat her children. And her husband sacrificed himself in an attempt to trap her. So the players at this point arrive and have to use their wits as well as some poisoned chicken to defeat Karen and take her back to HQ.
Yum, yum, yum. The third mission has the investigators attempting to catch a witch in the middle of the woods. And the biggest hitch with catching the witch is that the players must gather some items to work some witchcraft of their own to defeat the witch. But oh wait, let's not switch, because the witch is also trying to kill you the entire time. And oh yeah, she might just turn you into a rat, which is not, or maybe is, Nico's favorite thing ever.
Spoiler alert, it is.
Dan, what's the last mission?
So the final mission involves dealing with a power outage at the Paranormal Activity Helpers headquarters. In short, the power has gone out and the multiple ghosts and entities in the HQ might escape at any second. The good news is that there's a failsafe. The HQ is primed to self-destruct if the power is not restored. The bad news is that you, the players, are trapped inside. The players must restore power to the facility and retrap the entities that have escaped.
All right, well, let's get right down to it then. How does this one look, Nico?
I was very surprised to learn that this was a game produced and created by mostly one person, and I think that itself is significant with any sort of work that is worth its salt, that sort of kind of reaches above its sort of weight class, if you will, when you're able to. And considering all of that, I think this looks really, really good. We don't have a ton of hyper-realistic character models or anything, but everything that we do see works towards a sort of creepy vibe, and I think it works.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Nico. I think the graphics and the look of the game overall is decent. You know, like it conveys what it needs to convey. It's not out here looking like Pac-Man, but at the same time, you know, it's not like 4K Ultra HDR graphics. You know, it's just nice. It does what it does. Dan, what's your take?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a decent looking indie game. Now, that being said, I do like the monsters, the entities, ghosts, whatever,
Definitely, yes.
on each of the ones. It's pretty cool because when you die, each time like the entity like grabs you or something, and it's like gets really close up in your face, like in your screen, like jump scary kind of. And I think that's kind of cool, and it's the graphics of that are always cool. And I also like how as each mission progresses, the monster creature entity thing will get more and more like progressively eviler looking, or in the woods
More
one,
eviler. Yep.
more eviler. You already know. In the farm one, when you have to poison him, he turns more and more green as you poison him, which is kind of cool. So like the little things like that I think are pretty cool.
Indeed.
Poison her.
Oh yeah. Her. Right.
Now for sound, Nico, how's this game sound?
So it's pretty minimalistic. There's no real soundtrack or anything. A lot of the noises that we hear is more or less just Foley and walking around different environments that we've got, whether outdoors, indoors, carpeted or not. But the main sort of scares come from, again, those jump scare moments and just seeing whatever it is just start flying towards you, whether it's a very large, green, almost Shrek-ish looking woman or something out of a J-horror type joint. So I think the sounds of the actual, like, scary things do pull their weight.
Yeah, I agree with what Nico said. There's definitely not like a big soundtrack or anything behind it. A lot of it is, like breathing sounds, or when the monster gets close, you start hearing like "Ah!" that kind of thing.
Kind of like that, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, anything you got to add?
Not too much. I mean, I agree with both of you. I like the lack of actual soundtrack. I think that's kind of cool. For whatever reason, maybe budget or maybe just creative choice. I like that actually. And I also like that, it's a multiplayer game. So it's cool because you can hear when the monster like attacks somebody else, and you kind of like hear it in the distance sometimes if you're like somewhat nearby, and you can like kind of hear these kind of things happen. And I just think that's kind of cool.
What do y'all think of the narration?
I think the narration is kind of cool. There's always like some, I don't know, captain or somebody of your on your team, and he always like radios in, so it's like, hey guys, we're here doing this, you have to do this and then this, and I don't know, it's kind of cool.
I always found it to be kind of funny because he's literally like, by the way, there's like a ghost here. Go fuck yourself. Don't come back till you finish the mission. Like, yo, what?
Yeah.
So that's for sure.
I think my only, this is the tiniest of complaints, but I think I would have liked a little bit more sort of tonal variety because, again, it is sort of what Justin described, just not monotonous, but just like this guy's got one mood and he doesn't give any kind of fucks about you. I'll say that much.
I kind of like that, though. I'm not going to lie.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's corporate America for you.
Yeah, this is an anti-capitalist game. But for real, John. But for true, let's take it now to the big bite here, controls and gameplay. And I'll lead. So the other two played on mouse and keyboard. I, the superior one here, used a controller.
Boo this man.
And basically, it controls well. The bindings make sense. I did not run into any significant issues. And in fact, I will say the jump, someone needs to take all these investigators to the gym.
Yeah, man.
They can't jump for shit. Now, in terms of the gameplay, each of the 4 missions kind of revolves around similar things. You oftentimes have to gather or collect things and then use them to destroy other things, which it's a fun loop when you've got multiple people doing it. Dan, what's your take on the gameplay and controls?
Controls I mostly like. I mean, on keyboard and mouse, you have your standard WASD kind of controls. The one problem that I have with it is maybe we just don't play frequently enough, but I always have to remember, like, okay, which button is to turn on and off your flashlight or pick an item up. For some reason, in my head, that never sticks. And that could just be a me problem because I don't play a lot of computer games, but that's just my one knock. Gameplay, I generally dig. I think it's a simple game in most cases. Again, like Justin said, you just kind of run around and grab certain things and toss them into a fire to hurt the creature or something similar to that. And it's a good exercise in simplicity because it's not overly complicated, but it's fun and it still achieves its effect. The one that I'm not too hot on is the final mission. I think the gameplay on that one is a little weird because I still haven't quite figured out exactly what we're supposed to do in a lot of cases. I like the plot of it. I think it was cool to kind of bring the multiple stories, multiple missions together.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We haven't really figured out how to beat that one or quite. We always get stuck, not because it's too hard, but just we're like, we don't really know exactly what to do.
Yeah, man. Hashtag no IGN. We ain't lying on this review. We really tried, though. We really have tried.
We put in the time.
Yeah. Nico, what's your thoughts on the gameplay and controls?
So my one complaint has to do with the speed. I wish that none of these people can jump. Yeah, it's literally like they jump about 6 inches off the ground. Like they're bunny hopping, if anything, really. And the one big change that I wish could happen is I wish everything was just a little bit faster on our end. The walking is glacial. The sprint is like a nice, stately jaunt. And I wish there was just a little bit more urgency from the characters that we play. And one way to show that would just be to literally quicken the pace. I don't think it would really adjust too much of the balancing either, because like almost everything else can either sprint at you, fly, or teleport, or both.
That is fair.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask the big question here, because we are a horror podcast. How does this game achieve horror, and does it even achieve horror in your view? And Dan, we'll start with you.
So for me, one of the big things about horror is suspense and sort of building that up. And I actually think this game does a pretty good job with that. It, like I mentioned in the sound part, you can hear when, and I think we all maybe mentioned it, but you can hear when the monster, creatures, whatever, are walking around. They're off in the distance or they get somebody else or something. So that to me is kind of like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And, when the three of us plus our other friend Bonner are playing, we'll just be walking around and then all of a sudden somebody's like, oh, they got me. And you're like, oh, uh-oh, they're out on the loose kind of. And I think that's really fun, but it also helps build that suspense. And in one of them, was it the third mission? I think it was the third mission. When you're in the house, like if the witch is nearby you, then like the cupboards start opening and closing.
The doors
and things.
Close and shit.
Yeah. So it's
that part
cool,
fucks with me.
I know, right? It's a cool suspense building that I think kind of helps lead to that horror.
And it's more subtle too. It's not just like, but
right.
like, suddenly start just gets a little fucky and like that's not okay.
Right.
Yeah, I will say in particular, the first mission, dolls, like you can hear the little possessed dolls like laughing. Yeah, and you're like, fuck, because you're trying to find them. But at the same time, you also hear like the footsteps of the little girl.
You and shit.
Yeah, that. And like she's flying around and you can hear it. And also just like, it's cool because all of the maps are a little mazy to varying extents. I think the farm is probably the least mazy of the bunch.
You would expect it to be the most.
Yeah.
That's a corn joke, y'all. Remember Gasohol?
Oh,
It's
God.
dumb as fuck.
Yep. That's what they need in this game, man. Just some
Real talk.
asshole.
Like how do we? One of my I think favorite things about indie games is how they sort of oftentimes try to justify the very kind of silly, sort of almost fetch questy line of your priorities in the immediate moment. Because like that one starts off, the farm mission starts off where it's like, first you wake up you arrive and there's just a whole bunch of fucking chickens everywhere. You gotta find a cast iron, then you gotta find the poison so you can hit the chicken and kill the chicken, and then you gotta go to the trough, you gotta activate the trough, make sure it's not leaking, then poison the trough so you can poison your chicken so that you can drop drop that back down, and just like there's this very sort of regressive logic to every mission that's so very specific to both indie horror games but also like adventure games from the 80s and 90s that I think personally holds a lot of just charm. And I think maybe that's my own sort of like, this is my garbage and I love it and it will always be my garbage, but like I always like when people do stuff like that, man.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And given that, I mean, which of the 4 missions is your favorite, do you guys think?
For me, I think it's the first one, the doll one.
Mm-hmm.
When I mentioned before, this is a simple game. I think that is one of the more simple missions.
Definitely.
And simple doesn't mean easy. Simple doesn't mean not good or anything. It's just the concept is just very simple. You run around this house. You have to unlock the doors in the house. You have to grab the dolls and then burn the dolls. That's it. And it's super easy to get the hang of. It's easy to understand. And it's fun. And it's fun to just run around and try to catch these dolls that get progressively faster as you burn more of them. And the supernatural, the girl, the haunted girl kind of like runs around faster. And I think that's probably the one we played the most. So I think part of my like for it is also just we've done it a lot and I have good memories of it. But that's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, context. How many years do you think we've been playing this game? I don't know if we played it when it first came out or not, but it's been a while.
4 or 5 years, maybe?
Something like that. So, like, full discretion, this is something that we've played not like a religious amount, but like we've played a good chunk of this game over the years. This isn't something that we just like touched once and then never like really invested any time into it. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And that's one thing that I was going to say. We were playing that game before this podcast was ever a thing.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
we had been playing Pacify. And in fact, listeners will know that when we kind of branched out a little bit, reviewed other things outside of just strictly movies, this was something that came up at one of our meetings because it's just, hey, wait a second. This is a horror game that we all pretty much like. Spoilers. And-
yes, listeners will know that's what we did.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. For me, just like Dan, my favorite mission is the dolls. And that's because I feel like that one is the scariest.
Yeah, that too.
And part of that is because there's this house, right? But it's more like a mansion. And it's pretty mazy. And it's just, there's a point, and I can't pinpoint when it's going to happen for you if you play it. But we're all, talking, we're all strategizing. Well, you go here and you go here. And then all of a sudden it's like,
Who's got the goddamn room key?
yeah, who's got the room key? And then, Bonner's like the best. He'll open like every room. And then if you don't open it, he'll be like, you fucking peasant. How did you not open this room door yet? And some players.
Oh, you died? Sounds like a you problem.
And you got to carry wood. Like, I wasn't making a sex joke at the start. I was making a joke about the, what you got to do. You got to carry wood, matches, and then there's dolls that are evil and then dolls that'll protect you from getting like your shit rocked by the girl. And then if you do get your shit rocked, you turn into a doll.
I want to
Rock! And then you better hope one of your teammates has some wood and the matches to then light a fire so you can jump in and revive yourself. And it's just the constant running around. And also, she can jump scare the shit out of you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you'll be chilling and all of a sudden it's like, brah! And it's like, oh, shit. So that's my favorite. But Nico, what's yours?
It's a toss-up. It's a tie between the Witch in the Woods and Karen at her farm. I think the farm level is by far the silliest, but it's also, I think, one of the easier ones to follow, and it's got that sort of, again, like almost adventure game kind of logic to it. And the Witch in the Woods one is, I think, just the most haunted. Like, literally, there are, I think, the most ghosts. We got little ghost puppies. You got to do all this sort of, like, romantic shit. You must find the rose. And then you must unleash the gate so that you can let all the cute little ghost puppies go. And then also you have to explore this mansion that more or less is itself also alive because the doors and windows will just shut and randomly trap you in because fuck you, that's why. I think my favorite probably is The Witch in the Woods, just sort of thematically, but runner-up goes to The Farm.
Yeah. And I will also say that, like, Sean, if you ever hear this, my guy, Why can't I take a rose off a tree? Oh, that
Yo,
hurt me
for real,
so bad.
man. You're not strong enough for this? Oh, really?
I say that jokingly. I understand you need balance and stuff. But no,
Yeah.
that one, like night before, we were playing this a little bit in preparation for the pod. And Dan was like, why can't I take this rose off the tree? And I'm running around looking for clippers to take that thing off the tree like a fool. But either way. Now, if there was a sequel to this game, what would you want to add? One thing you would want to add?
I want to sort of harken back to a different kind of nostalgia now. I've talked about adventure games. Now I'm talking about something from the 2000s or so. Have either of y'all played Time Splitters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I've got in mind is I would want to add in a level editor like the level editor from Time Splitters,
Oh,
but for Pacify. Like, I know that would be such a monumental effort in terms of development and coding and just the amount of hours you would need to put in, but I think that would be absolutely tight as fuck.
imagine if you could do one where there's like more than one ghost and just like all this other shit going on. That could be pretty cool, but it would
Yeah.
be a pain. It would be
Yeah.
a pain. Dan, how about you?
So I think it would be cool to explore different player characters. Part of the reason why I say that is because there have been updates to this game that add new levels. So initially I wanted to say more levels, but that could just be like more updates or something. So like sort of a new game, but not actually a sequel kind of thing.
Sure.
So when I'm thinking about like an actual sequel, I think it would be really cool to not just change the levels and the locations you're in, but also the players that you're playing as. Because right now, the players, there's different character models, but they're all the same. They function the same and everything. I think
Right.
it would be really interesting to see if maybe there's a host of different characters, 6 or 7 or 8 different people that you can play as that all have slightly different qualities to them, and maybe one's faster or maybe one has certain powers or something. I think that could
One's
be
going
interesting.
through a divorce.
Just eternally sad.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute total sense. I would say for me, Dan, along the same lines as you, I think it would be cool if you were allowed to bring like,
A gun.
Just bring a blick.
not necessarily that, but you are like paranormal activity helpers, and we see from the HQ that they got technology on deck. So I personally think it could be kind of cool if, I don't know, there's some piece of equipment that you could bring. I'm not even saying something to fight the ghosts, because I understand the horror aspect is in not
Yeah.
being able to actually hurt them, but some piece of equipment, some kind of customization that you could bring to really help you out. Because
Maybe like a spirit box or something.
yeah, like I've played Phasmophobia and this game as well, which is kind of related almost in terms of the genre and everything.
Totally.
And I enjoy being able to bring a piece of equipment, something that makes it more individualized, which Dan's suggestion would also help, like picking a character that you like to play as. I like the fast one because they can get away faster or whatever else. Now, I got to ask, and we kind of know the answer, but who is this game for?
So the one thing that comes to mind when I think of like criteria of who this would be like the most enjoyed by, I think you've got to play this with friends. You can play this with a bunch of randoms and you could still have a blast, but I think if you want to get the absolute best experience, you have to get 3 other people and just try this shit out. So I think this is for people who, one, can do that. If you're lonely, hey, we love you. But I think this is definitely something that you could enjoy also at any sort of level of sobriety or intoxication, if that is your thing.
For true. Nico, one thing I do want to point out is you can do more than 4 players. We just only have 3 friends.
Wait, you can?
Yeah, remember?
Yeah,
we
there's
were
that
all
one
playing and then
dude.
Loser joined.
Oh, right. Yeah. I forgot about him.
One night we were playing and then some random joined us and carried us to victory at the very end.
And see, what's really great about, again, I'm going to talk about how simple the game is, because that was the first mission. is, there was no voice chat, there was no text chat. Like,
Right.
we've played it enough that we have our strategy, right?
Yeah.
And that person who has no communication with us whatsoever was quickly able to figure out what our strategy was and work with us on that same strategy.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
game is simple enough to allow you to do that without having to do all these complex things, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He even started fucking jumping.
He was like
pseudo
dabbing on the
teabagging
haters.
things.
Yeah.
The victory jump.
Because don't the characters kind of T-pose when they jump in that one?
little
Yeah,
bit.
they do.
Yeah.
And I believe there might actually be a voice chat functionality.
We have to
You just
talk
should-
about the rats.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention that. Don't worry. There is a little bit of a voice chat functionality in the game, I believe, but whenever we do it, we use Discord, and there is actually a PvP mode which we don't really play, and I'm not sure how exactly you get scored or something. I'm not sure. I never tried it, but Nico, go ahead and monologue about the rats for a little bit because I know you fucking love it.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this was an intended thing or not, but it is just, it makes my whole fucking day. We are going around these haunted ass locales in what I have previously described as a less than speedy pace. And then whenever on the level with the witch in the woods, whenever you get got by the witch, you come back as fucking Stuart Little speed racer, fucking Speedy Gonzalez over here, because you go faster than literally everybody and you can jump again something completely obscene like 5 or 6 feet, to the point that I was like following around Dan, I think 2 nights ago, like sort of scouting ahead for him, seeing if the like witch was ahead and being like, okay, yeah, come on in. Like I was almost more useful as this tiny little rodent than the paranormal investigators.
And when Nico says you go faster, it's literally like twice as fast or maybe even more. I don't know. Like you're zooming.
You can do like fucking 360s and shit too. It's great.
It's fucking nuts. But anyways, I want to take this to the what would you do? And I got to ask, it's pretty simple. If we were the paranormal investigators, right? The 3 of us in Bonner.
Leave.
Well, we can't.
Quit.
What mission do you think we would have the greatest success in? What mission could we actually beat or win?
We'd be absolutely fucked at the headquarters. There's zero chance.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Get rid of that
zero
word.
chance.
Nope.
I feel like
the farm would probably be the easiest to communicate in because you have more open space. It's not like the farm itself and the house have windows. Like, you'd be able to holler if need be.
yeah, we'll just assign Justin to bonk the fucking chickens with the frying pan. He'll be
Yeah.
the chicken annihilator.
You know, Islander background, perhaps.
Oh, shit. Hey, listen, I could take out a chicken, bro. You don't even know, but keep going.
I think this is maybe a little meta and cheating, but I feel like the first one, just because we have a good strategy for it, we came up with a great strategy. So I think if it was in real life, we would also come up with a good strategy. But I also say that because I think it would be hilarious to watch the 4 of us try to like chase down these little dolls as they run around. I'm just imagining like Bonner running around trying to capture a haunted doll and like
Getting
all
past
of
a
us trying to do that.
semi-impenetrable tiny little girl.
Yeah.
I will say this too. I think personally it would be the dolls one, and that's because in addition to the strategy, I feel like it's just like, hey, you do this. Well, that is strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sun Tzu.
And not to drop any spoilers, but the little girl goes absolutely batshit on the last doll.
Yeah,
Like
she
she
does.
turns into a straight up demon. So sometimes we're like, honestly, bro, we got to have both dolls ready to go just in case. Because that last demon form just destroys you. There's nothing about it, bro.
She like fucking goes Kaioken Ghost Edition.
Really, though. So I want to take it to the critic review now. And, well, I'm not actually going to call on the critics here. I'm going to use the Steam rating. So doing some quick maths would put this at 90 out of 100, which is pretty high, actually.
Oh, well, fuck our guesses, I guess. Thanks, man.
Wait. I was wrong. I was looking at the wrong game.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
were you?
Okay.
Where do you guys think this rates on Steam?
I think it's got a 20.
I feel like it's a 89.9.
Yeah, so the game actually has a 70 out of 100 on Steam. I really was looking at the wrong game. I had Deep Rock pulled up.
Motherfucker.
Actually, jokes on both of you. I actually was looking at the right game. It's a 90. I give Dan the win.
I believe you there.
Hey, y'all. This is what Justin's like all the time. Just imagine dealing with this level of nonsense just nonstop.
Right. So, Dan, you win. Nico, I don't know how you're such a failure. But where
Thanks,
does the
bud.
game rate for you? How do you feel about this game? And I'll lead. This was a game that I'm not even sure how we all found it. We were just looking for something to play, and we wanted something spooky because we all like horror shit. And it's just fucking fun. It's just really, really fun. I'm not the biggest fan of the headquarters mission, but guess what? You don't have to play it. It was part of a free update. When we first started playing it, it was just dolls. And then we got the farm, and then we got the woods with the super rats. And it's been a blast. And especially around Halloween time when everyone wants to play a scary game, this is perfect to play with friends. Honestly, randos could probably be a little more difficult, but you still should. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun. My criticisms are pretty minimal. So honestly, this one gets an 87 for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Justin says, even about the final mission. Not the biggest fan of it personally, but you don't have to play it. And like we've mentioned, we've been playing this game on and off for 5 years, 4 years, something like that. And I think that says something as well. So I'm with the Steam people and putting it at 90.
I am gonna put it at an 85. I have an absolute blast with this whenever I play it. I think for me, I'm just a little more mindful of the little bits of, like, maybe just a little more polish that could make this go from good to great. It's still, well, not good to great, but great to, like, really something truly special.
Mm-hmm. So this is obviously getting a recommendation from us. I think that's no surprise.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Does this get Golden Seal for you?
I'm gonna say no. I'm
Aw.
sorry.
But that's okay because this is an indie game. Diamond in the rough?
Absolute diamond in the rough
Yeah,
for sure.
For
yes.
sure. For sure.
For sure.
Bling, bling, bling.
There you go. That was the diamond in the rough sound from me and Dan. So
I'm gonna release an episode of edits of just y'all doing this.
in case you don't know, dear listener, Diamond in the Rough is something where it might not get the golden seal of approval as one of the great of greats, but we recognize the effort that's gone into it. Only independent works are able to go up for this. And yeah, we definitely think this suffices. So we want to know, though, what you think. Have you played this game? Do you want to play this game?
Join us. Play it with us.
Yeah. You can't suck, though. Just kidding. Just kidding.
No
So
scrubs.
So we're on X and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. That's Don't Open That Door. Plus, check everything we've done on our website, which is dotdhorror.com. But till next time, always have a plan if you're going into a haunted house. Always bring some friends. Take care of one another. But as always, dear listener,
I feel the need to say that it is DOTD policy. Don't actually go in haunted houses.
True. Don't actually make it your career to be a paranormal activity helper and do this kind of stuff.
true.
It's a
Truer
big
words.
note from us.
If you find some weird shit, leave it alone. If you took it, put it the fuck back.
Don't answer that ad on Craigslist.
All of these are true. So till next time, dear listener, don't open that door or do any of that other shit. Bye.